lot of strange things happen in this place.
I just hope he stays safe.
Save me.
Save me, my dog!
What exactly are you?
Dear mother, she's awaiting your rescue. I'll be your guide.
We interrupt this program to bring you...
All right, everybody. My name is Kevin.
And my name's John.
And we are the Real Movie Guys. It's May, so you know what that means. It's real anime. Real Anime is a special event where we take a look at all your favorite anime films. And on today's episode, we are taking a look at The Boy and the Heron. In the wake of his mother's death and his father's remarriage, a headstrong boy ventures into a dreamlike world shared by the living and dead in the search of his missing stepmother. Okay, John, so this was a rare L for me. I think I took when I decided that we should probably review this movie. So back when this first came out, when it came out physically, I picked it up and I did watch it. I gotta tell you, I had no idea what I just watched, honestly. And I love Studio Ghibli movies. I've seen every single one, I think, up until this point. And
yep.
I was super hyped. You know, of course, obviously, it's Ghibli. You're excited. You want to watch it. I watched it, man, and I got to tell you, I don't know if I just wasn't in the mindset for it, but I wasn't really sure what I just watched. And I was super mixed bag on this movie. So when I told you, like, listen, I want to review this movie for this month. I really want to take a second look at it. I think I really need to. And honestly, to like maybe absorb what was trying to be said here and what was, you know, presented to me by the great Hayao Miyazaki. You know what? I watched it the second time. Fell in love with this movie. I absolutely adored this movie. The fact that it took me 2 rewatches to get to what I needed to, you know, to understand and process through this movie. Yeah, it's a little ridiculous, to be honest with you. And there's still some things I'm super confused about. But you know what, man? Overall, super, super love this movie. And I really can't wait to talk about it with you.
Well, for me, this watch for this was my first time seeing this movie. And I think that at the end of it, kind of was, am in the same place that you were after your first watch, which is that I get the sense that this movie, everything in it seems laden with meaning, significance, right? He's trying to tell me something or give me his perspective on something with every scene, which from scene to scene can jump wildly, right? Seem almost disconnected. Mm-hmm. And by the end of it, I had enjoyed what I watched, but found myself trying to cling to, like, I think it's about this, right? But I'm not really sure, and it might be the easiest interpretation, and it doesn't extend to probably 50% of the movie, right? And like the other 50%, I'm like, I don't really know what that was about, but at least I get this kernel of understanding out of it.
Yeah, so, and I think that's what the beauty of what we consider art, right? And a lot of anime films, a lot of film in general, sometimes is just, you know, a popcorn fest. It's just something for your eyes to enjoy and just have fun, end it, leave. And that's a lot of anime that most people watch. Even some Studio Ghibli films, even though they do have heart and soul and a little more to them most of the time, I would argue that this and The Wind Rises is another one that was a very deep movie and I really did enjoy. But The Boy and the Heron just feels like such a personal story with so many different interpretations that I had to go down a rabbit hole, man. You know, I had to. Once I had a couple ideas of what I think the story might have been after that second watching. But really going down this, it's really beautiful. I really have to tell you how much I enjoy just like going through at least 3 or 4 different really solid theories of what the interpretation of this movie could be, because maybe they're not right, but they're not wrong. And Miyazaki's not going out of his way to correct anyone, which I think is super interesting.
And even if it's not his intention, if it gives you a new perspective and lets you think about it in a different way, there's value in that, right? There's like if you were getting something out of it. So
no, there's so much.
Yeah,
value.
I could definitely see that. And I read a little bit about it myself. I understand that there are definitely semi-autobiographical elements to this movie,
Yeah.
especially related to like Miyazaki's own childhood
Yeah.
that are brought to the
And
screen in this.
And his present, apparently. That was like the big one that I took away from this. And I think that would be my strongest theory, because maybe that could be why he's not commenting too much on a lot of this movie, where I think a lot of it does have to do with his legacy, this movie. It really does reflect on the fact that I can't stop doing what I'm doing because I can't trust anyone to carry on my legacy. I'm the only one that can do it. And that's a big theme in this movie. It's one of the big themes and one of the big turning points in the story, because you could see hints at some of his other work throughout the entire movie with different characters, different situations that arise throughout it. I think that's super interesting. And Mahito is also like the younger version of himself. So we're getting something, like you said, autobiographical about the death of his mother, his father who works with airplanes, during World War II and the bombings. And one of the craziest theories I saw was how this was supposedly like a representation of Japan during World War II, and all the birds represented the different parties of the political climate and things of that nature. I don't want to go too into themes and stuff like that, even though I think that's really, if you're looking for something super deep and super interpretive, this is the movie for you, right? You're gonna have a field day with this. You find me an English teacher or someone out there that would not have a field day watching this movie, right? Like I could see myself sitting in like a high school classroom going over this over and over, scene by scene. Like, tell me what the symbolism of this scene is. What's your interpretation? That's what this movie is, right? I think for the most part, I don't know how much a casual audience is going to get out of that, which I guess that would be kind of my negative for this movie, right? Do you think it alienates a lot of casual audiences with just how unique, I guess, and different and all over the place the storytelling is?
And I also think, because prior to watching this movie and after watching this movie, I think my favorite Miyazaki movie is probably why am I blanking on the name?
Put you on the spot. We're keeping this in, folks. We're not editing this out either.
No! Why can't I remember it? I had it in my mind. There's a
movie he made, yeah.
Oh, he's made a few of them. Oh, shoot.
Quite a few. I guess we could go down the recent. Spirited Away. How's
not Spirited Away. Earlier than Spirited Away.
Totoro.
Nope.
Not Totoro. Nausicaa.
There's a young man. He lives in a village,
Princess
and then a
Mononoke?
monster attacks. That is my favorite. Thank you, Princess Mononoke. I could tell you the whole plot.
You tell me the whole plot, but couldn't tell you the name of the movie. I could tell you even the name of the character of Princess Mononoke, but not the title.
So that is my favorite Miyazaki movie still, and I think that for a new viewer, that movie has depth and has strong themes, but also is enjoyable to watch, makes sense from start to finish, is coherent and linear, and I think just as a movie to watch is better.
Digestible is a good word, I think, for that.
Sure.
You can get the themes out of it, right? I think they're there in Princess Mononoke. Obviously they're there, with nature versus that, and there's a lot going on in that movie too. But they're all, I don't want to say simple, maybe that's not the right word, but they're interwoven correctly throughout
with
the film.
action,
yes,
right?
So they're
not just
lost.
showing, yes. And the thing with this movie is that it's showing me a lot of things that seem bizarre.
Yes.
Not tying them together with a narrative, really, most of the time. Just kind of little vignettes that are odd, and then on to the next one, And I see the value in, giving me something to think about. But at the end of the day, I don't know if I value that more than giving me some things to think about, delivered in a package that is enjoyable to watch on your first viewing.
Yeah, and again, I think, like I said, and I think that will alienate a lot of viewers, especially if you've never seen a Miyazaki film and this was the first one. This probably isn't the first one you're going to want to watch. I think you're definitely
not.
You're definitely going to be like, I think you're going to fall into like, oh, that's that typical anime stuff where it's all over the place and I don't know what's going on. And I hate to say that, as an anime lover, but that is a reputation anime gets. Sometimes it's a little too much. You look at the first Akira to some extent. There's definitely, that can alienate some audiences, especially with the ending of that movie and whatnot. But again, I don't think this is for the casual viewers, but those who really love film and love the legacy of Miyazaki, I think that they're the ones that are really going to enjoy this movie. But you're going to have to put in work. And I hate to tell you that when you watch a movie, but you really do have to. It's interesting to find out that the original title of this movie, I guess, was supposed to be How Do You Live? Which was a Japanese novel that this is loosely based on, that Miyazaki decided to adapt for this movie. And that's one of the most beautiful themes in this movie. By the time you get to the end, and if they had kept that original title, I think the movie actually would have been better for it. What do you think of that? Because I think The Boy and the Heron is just too vague of a title, and I know they wanted to have some mystery when this movie was released. That was the whole marketing strategy, like, we're not going to show you too much, because then it came out like right away in Japan, and then the West, it got renamed, I believe, The Boy and the Heron for the West specifically for marketing, and then they kind of just went ahead and they showed like typical trailers and whatnot for the movie. But Japan didn't have any of that when this came out, from what I understand.
Yeah, and I think I can appreciate that naming it that way, The Boy and the Heron, is kind of hearkening back to like fables.
Yes.
Like a lot of fables are named like that.
Sure.
And I like the idea of viewing a lot of the scenes in this movie as kind of short stories that are there to express an idea about living, which is what most fables are.
Right.
But I do agree that despite that being kind of a clever way to name the movie, it doesn't really convey much about what it is.
No, and again, like you said, I do respect it as well. I understand why they did it, but I don't know if I would have done that necessarily, because the idea of how do you live is so ingrained into this movie, and that scene is just so pivotal. It seems like a mistake sometimes just not to have named it that. Again, I think most audiences that are really paying attention, obviously I wasn't the first time, but the second time around, you definitely get, when you watch it it's just one of those movies that you definitely will enjoy on a second viewing. I think the first viewing kind of be like our experience, right? For the first time, be like, okay, you threw a lot at me, I'm not sure really what's going on. But when you go back and you're able to put all these things together with every scene that you're seeing, like him smashing a rock into his head early on into the movie and hurting himself, and just those little things like that slowly add up to by the time we get to the end of this film, it's just really beautiful, man. I really, really enjoyed this movie. And again, if it wasn't for the second viewing, I don't know if I would be staunch defending it like this if I didn't have that second viewing of it.
I'm torn though, because I think the other thing that benefits this movie is having knowledge from outside of the film.
That as well, yeah. I agree.
Right. And it's at that point, it's like intertextual, like you're taking information from one source and combining it with the information that you're shown in the movie.
I would argue even a Japanese source specifically, because a lot of these things that are referenced in the movie are Japanese history specific, or if you really want to get into those kind of deeper meanings that we were talking about earlier, yeah, those are history related to Japanese culture and things that were going on in Japanese culture. The Miyazaki stuff, okay, if you've watched, like you said, you still need knowledge of that too. If you've watched all of Miyazaki's films, like you said, all these short stories are kind of representative up until he got to the end, his end of his career up until this point. But if you don't have knowledge of that, I think you do lose a lot, as far as reference.
And I think that there is, I'm not trying to say that I didn't like this movie or that it's not good. I think it's very good.
Yeah.
But I think the place that it sits is like, once you're a Miyazaki fan,
yes,
and you have watched his other movies, and ideally like understand a bit about him as a man, where he came from, his background, this is like a nice bow to put on top of that whole package.
Right. And that's how I kind of was with The Wind Rises, which we reviewed earlier last year on this channel. We talked about The Wind Rises and how I fell in love with that movie. Once I got to understand Miyazaki as the man, like that was the project he wanted to make. Like that was his like goal, to make that movie. Because that was another movie. At first I watched him like, I don't know if this was really for me, but having the historical context behind it and what he was trying to do with this movie, I just fell in love with it. And maybe that could be the same situation with The Boy and the Heron. I think it might definitely be the situation with The Boy and the Heron. A couple other things to talk about, which I thought were interesting. The dub is very good in this movie. It's a stellar cast as far as dubbing. I did put on the Japanese subtitled version just for a little bit because I kind of want to get some context just of the character voices. They were phenomenal too. I really did enjoy them. And I thought it's interesting when you could say the American cast is on par with the Japanese cast as far as like the vocals and whatnot. That's tough to do. Special shout out. And I think you know who I'm going to say this to. Robert Pattinson as the Gray Heron in this movie. Holy crap. If you didn't tell me that was him, never would have known. Never would have known.
No,
that man
not.
That man is a master
chameleon.
of voice acting. Seriously. Props where it's due. I think we can get rid of, if we couldn't get rid of Twilight before, I think we can do it now with this. Cause man, that took some balls to do that voice. And it was really great. It was really great and, creepy, really creepy at times. But, again, just a stellar cast all around. Christian Bale shows up in this too, you know, which that was a fun fact. So apparently, Christian Bale,
he's a Ghibli regular as well, yeah.
But even more so, which was crazy. So he voiced Hal in Howl's Moving Castle. The voice actor in Japan who did Hal's voice is also the voice actor who did his father's voice in the Japanese version.
Oh, interesting.
So they actually specifically asked Christian Bale to come and do the father's voice so they could kind of keep the same actor across the two. I don't know why, but I'm like, that's pretty fun. That was a cool idea. Yeah, so again, voice acting, phenomenal. Score is absolutely beautiful. I'm going to probably put this on a mix at some point because I really do love the score for this movie. It's absolutely phenomenal. I don't know what more you really want me to say. I'm not too much of a music guy, but I really did enjoy it for this one. The other thing, too, so this was the first time I think I've seen Miyazaki experiment a little with his animation at times in this movie. Specifically the beginning with the dreamlike fire sequence where we see Mahito's mother getting the hospital she's in is bombed and it's lighting on fire, and they show him rushing to try and get to her in the hospital. What did you think, John? Because usually Miyazaki doesn't step away too much from his typical style, but that was something a little different. And I liked it. I like to see him, you know, with the years he has left, I'd like to see him kind of like
try new
styles
things
a little bit because that's kind of cool.
Sure.
And it wasn't too much. It was like just enough and appropriate for the scene, I felt like.
And I think throughout the course of the movie, you definitely saw a lot of the typical Ghibli look.
Oh yeah.
But there were definitely some more experimental scenes, especially towards the end with the grand uncle in his kind of like alternate dimension,
his Inception world.
where he's holed up. Yeah, his Inception world. It was interesting to see a little bit more experimentation. I mean, the movie's very nice looking and it's like whimsical in ways.
Sure.
I thought it was very funny. There are scenes that have a lot of birds flying around and the characters are just getting pooped on by all of them. I don't know if you noticed
weird
that.
Detail. And then I think I first noticed it, again, the second viewing, obviously, when the Heron was on going to see Mayuto in his bedroom. He's like talking to him and taunting him, and then he flies out of the room. And my wife Julie, who was with me, you guys know her from the channel, she was here and she was like, did he just like crap on the ledge? I'm like, ew, he did. And there's like a big thing of crap. I'm like, why is that a detail in this movie? It's probably accurate to a Heron. I could definitely see him doing that, but again, strange attention to detail. But it's nice to see an old school animation director like this embracing technology, because you see a lot of the times you either see someone embrace it too much or not enough, or I feel like Miyazaki understands that there is like a future. And I've seen some of the documentaries that were out there. I think HBO had one with Miyazaki where he was talking about like his animation process, and they showed him talking with like the younger CGI like animators, and they were showing him, oh, you do this on the computer and we can move this scene, and he was like super excited. He's like, all right, we're gonna do this. Meanwhile, he's still got like his pen and paper over there, like by hand drawing animation cells and then handing them to get entered. But it's cool to see that he's accepting of this new style and is willing to integrate it to create some just beautiful art. Again, this is another one of those anime films that's amazing to look at, and Miyazaki really can't expect nothing less. I don't think. I wouldn't say.
No, not at this point. And I think it's part of the plot of this movie that Miyazaki knows that his time is coming to an end, whatever that means for Studio Ghibli. And I think that letting himself show you whatever he wants to show you in ways that he might not have utilized before.
Right.
Might have been the whole impetus for some of these things. You know what I mean? Convey some ideas that I've been kicking around. I'll try some new stuff and we'll just see what comes out of it.
Yeah, and I think he is continuing the theme of kind of borrowing from Western animation, where we've seen it with, they said Ponyo was a big one with like the Little Mermaid stories such as that. I do think this definitely draws from Alice in Wonderland quite a bit. Even maybe more so Dante's Inferno. I was like, oh, okay. We definitely got some, I think there was like Latin above the entrance or something like that with, and it's like the entryway literally to hell almost. I'm like, all right, Miyazaki, you got some dark ideas, man. But like you said, I think this definitely is the bookend. Maybe, unfortunately, you know, I'm not sure how to say that without it sound dark, but this is like a bookend to his career. Like, I know he'll continue to make things if he's able to. There's going to be more movies. I think there is another movie coming out, actually. But if this was like the end of his career, if this movie was like his swan song, it's perfect, right? It really does end cap a truly legendary animator's career. And it's kind of exciting to know that he wanted to show us this. Even if I can't understand it all in the first or second, maybe third or fourth viewing, I'll get something different out of it each time. And it's fun just to talk about like we're having right now. We're able to have a discussion about it, which you can't say for many movies, honestly.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. And even if you don't understand everything that's happening minute by minute, it's entertaining, and you will get the sense that you don't always get, that there is something going on here. Right. Like even if in this moment I don't really get it, you do get that sense that there's intentionality in this. You're trying to tell me something. Yeah. It's not just showing me something pretty. Like there's really something going on here. Yeah,
and I would love to see a younger audience watch this movie. This is definitely one of the darker films from Miyazaki, coincidentally. There's definitely some dark things going on, but I think a younger audience could handle this. I don't think there's anything too bad in it, but
no.
I would love to see a young audience like watch this, and as they grow up, you know, get more things out of it like we would do when we were younger. Would watch a movie and not totally understand something, but then when you watch it with new eyes at a new age, again, that's also probably one of the themes in this movie, for all I know, with, you know, the changing of age and looking at things from different perspectives. It's crazy. There's just a lot going on, but I think we've talked enough, man. I'm going to give our final scores on this.
Sure.
I'm going to give The Boy and the Heron a 9.7 out of 10. I really, really enjoyed this movie. And again, maybe it's just the Miyazaki fanboy in me, but I really did enjoy it. Again, it did take me 2 viewings, so I'm going to knock it for that. You know, there is a lot going on in this movie, but that's not always a negative. And I think that's the case where if you're in the mindset for it, this will be the movie for you to enjoy. No one does it better than Ghibli. I'm going to tell you right now. I don't think anyone does it. Some come close, but none do it better. And this movie, it has a lot to offer if you're willing to listen. Miyazaki is trying to tell us something. I don't know if he even knows exactly what he's telling, but it's almost like, again, super dark here, not trying to be that way, but it's like the ramblings of a man on his deathbed, kind of, right? It's like all these ideas, all these stories he's trying to tell us, like
trying to get it all out.
Right, get it all out right before the end. And it really does feel like that, but there's just so much here. And, you know, I kind of can't wait to watch it again in the future. I'm going to take a little break because my head's hurting, but I honestly, I do want to go back and watch this again. I think this is, among many other Ghibli films, one I would definitely put in my marathon. I would definitely, maybe towards the latter end, once I've enjoyed the other stuff and had enough to like keep my brain fresh, but I would rewatch it, and I think it's a beautiful movie. John, what do you think?
So let it be known, I've only watched this movie 1 time. So the score is subject to revision once I have done the required reading and watched it once or twice more. But where I am now as a first-time watcher would probably be at about an 8.3.
Okay.
I can recognize that it's a very good movie, but I have problems with it in that I can't wrap my head around it. And it's not, it definitely throws some threads out there for you to pull on.
Yeah.
And that can be very satisfying, but it doesn't, I haven't pulled them all out yet. So maybe we can do an emergency update after I watch The Boy and the Heron again.
And I think we're due at some point even to do like a ranking. I would love to maybe tackle that on the channel at some point, just like a Ghibli ranking, because there's a lot of fun Ghibli movies. We haven't covered all of them. Ironically, we have not covered Princess Mononoke, so maybe that's something we can watch that one very soon, because that's one of his most famous films, especially in the West when that came out, and for great reason. Definitely that might be closer to the 10 than any of them. But again, I I think there's a lot here, and I'm curious what you guys think in the comments below. This is definitely one, if you're going to participate in any of our videos, I think this is the one where I really need you to talk to me. Tell me what's going on, right? Tell me, give me your best theory of what this movie's about.
I need it more than you do.
John needs it.
So...
John needs it. And not even for lack of trying. He really did try. It's just there's so much going on. Like, you can find one theme and then be like, I don't think that was it. That sounds stupid. That's too easy. It's got to be deeper. And it might be. But let us know in the comments below. I'm curious to see what all you sleuths out there with Miyazaki, what's going on in his brain. What is he trying to tell us here? Because, again, this is a beautiful movie. I understand why it did win Best Picture. I think it did deserve it as far as animation. I think it is one of those movies where it rightfully won. I don't say that too often, but it did deserve the award for the season that it won, which ironically was up against Suzune, which I didn't know until you told me, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty funny because I didn't like that movie. Oh, spoilers! No, you already saw that video. That was before this one. But yeah, again, in the comments, make sure you like and subscribe, do all that jazz. Real Anime continues on. We got a bunch of stuff in store for you. We can't wait to talk a little bit more about anime with you. But my name's Kevin. That guy's John. We are your Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. We'll see you in the next one.
If you guys like what you've seen here today, consider giving this video a like and leaving your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to stay up to date with everything Real Movie Guys related, make sure to hit that subscribe button and check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And don't forget, all you audio listeners at home, we are available on many podcasting platforms. Just search The Real Movie Guys, you should pop right up. Thank you again all so much for joining us on this episode of The Real Review. We are The Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. Catch you next time.